Oh, hello.
Hey everyone. Yeah, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather with David and Will, and we got a new severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson County. This is going to be the eastern side, east of I-65 in Davidson County, and it is for 60 mile per hour winds. The hail out of this thing should not be severe level, but you could get some hail out of it nonetheless. So here's what the radar looks like, just sort of the traditional radar view here. And you can kind of see these storms coming in through Ridgetop, Greenbrier, coming into Goodlettsville, and working down their way through Ivy Point and the Greer Road area. And the worst of the winds is going to be right over, at least according to radar, going to be over around Hendersonville and just to the east. Now, the warning polygon, though, encompasses an area where the winds could become severe if they're not already. So, because this is so close to the radar, you can't totally rely on exactly where the blues are, which is going to be your most severe winds over 50 to 60 miles per hour there. We could have that over in Hendersonville, coming into Lakewood and Madison as well, inside the polygon, but radar's not going to see that very well because we're so close to the radar and the direction that wind is blowing. So the story is anyone within the yellow polygon here is in the threat area as far as 60 mile per hour wind gusts and maybe some small hail with that, maybe up to Nichols there within the yellow polygon. So again, this is east of I-65. This is going to be from Hendersonville, Madison, Lakewood, down to Hermitage, Donaldson, and then and that's about it for Davidson County. Everybody looks to get rain out of this. This is going to be a good rainmaker for us, something we need pretty badly, and it looks like we're going to get rain out of this in at least Davidson County if it holds together, which it looks like it will. A good chunk of Williamson County looks to get some rain out of this as well. But the reason we're here right now is the severe thunderstorm warning there in eastern Davidson County. So, Will, what kind of reports are we looking for? What are we thinking we might see out of this, and how can people be helpful?
Yeah, in the severe thunderstorm warning that the Weather Service issued, they advised against hail up to 3/4 of an inch. That's a little bit bigger than a penny, between a penny and a nickel sized hail. Definitely want to see any hail reports. If you've got a report, take a photograph of it. Make sure you include your cross streets. Submit it to us using hashtag TSpotter on Twitter. We also worried about wind gusts, right? So winds up to 60 miles an hour can damage trees, shingles, siding, etc. So really, wind and hail are the two biggest concerns. But as this thing moves south, I think lightning is going to be a pretty big concern for the eastern part of the county as well.
Yep, I agree with that. And yeah, this thing has actually been shooting lightning strikes out way ahead of the rain, and
Yeah.
up in the northern part, northeastern, actually right where this warning is, the eastern and northeastern parts of Davidson County and up into Sumner and Wilson counties. They've had lightning strikes now, cloud to ground lightning strikes for the better part of a couple of hours now up there in the clouds that sort of blow off the top of these storms and we're coming overhead. So these storms up in Kentucky were very healthy, very, very healthy thunderstorms. They've come down a couple of notches as they've gotten closer to us, which is a good thing, but we still could see some of these localized areas of some 60 mile per hour winds. We're not at the moment not expecting a widespread severe event as far as widespread wind damage, tree damage, that sort of thing. Although Derek says tree snapped off and fell behind me in Joelton, so that would be over to the left, to the west of this warning. But we're not expecting severe winds necessarily over that way. But some of these trees, it does not take severe winds to snap them off. So you want to be careful if you're driving, and especially under some trees up there in the northwestern part of Davidson County. A lot of trees along the roads, and be careful with that as you're driving. Again, it doesn't take severe winds to snap part of a tree off and land in the roadway. And your car does not want to be there when that happens. All right. Yeah, let's talk a little bit just a second about the difference between a watch and a warning. So we are under a severe thunderstorm watch. That's until 4 o'clock this afternoon. And then that just means conditions are favorable for severe weather. And if you stepped outside, you certainly feel that we could have some weather today. It's just hot and muggy, and a lot of moisture to work with. So as these storms came in out of Kentucky, this turned into a severe thunderstorm warning, which means that radar is indicating that we certainly could have weather to a severe level, and that came in the form, or is coming in the form of 60-mile-per-hour winds possible up there inside this warning box. So new radar scan coming in here. It looks like the rain coming into Madison, Goodlettsville, coming on to Inglewood here in just a little bit. Hendersonville's in the middle of it. And let's check out the velocities again. Should be getting a new scan of those shortly. There it is right there. And let's watch for any blues up here just north of the radar. Looks like those have come down a tad. Yeah, so that's good. But again, this is going to be a little tough. We may have some luck with TBNA. Is TBNA up, guys?
Yeah, it's working, and there are some blue pixels north of Hendersonville.
All right, I'm gonna pull that up and have that available for us. And
I mean, there's a lot of Barney on there, but
yeah,
you can still see the parts of it that aren't. Yeah.
All right. Sure. So let me switch over there to. This is TBNA, so yeah, it looks like some blue pixels there. This is going to be wind, probably a little higher in the storm. This is going to be up around 1,600 feet, and winds up in the 55 to 60 mile per hour range around White House. Not the clearest image here. That's not typically unusual, or that's not really unusual with TBNA radar. But we might see some clearer pictures of that as it comes further into town. Go back a scan or two here. Yeah. So you can see here the blue pixels. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're watching, and as this moves down to the south, we don't want to see these blue pixels because they indicate stronger winds, 60 to 70 miles per hour up there around Cross Plains earlier. That was around 2,000 feet. And then we get that bad scan. So hopefully a better scan will come in here soon from TBNA. All right. So this warning's in effect for another 25 minutes. We'll see how it evolves. It may, I guess one good thing about this, guys, this storm's going to go directly over the Weather Service office. They're going to get a taste of this storm and know exactly how it's behaving. And so they're in the best spot to see if this thing's going to be producing severe wind. And so that'll help them make decisions on whether to keep this warning going, cancel it early, extend it down to the south, whatever they need to do. So they're smack dab in the middle of it.
Really good looking shelf cloud I'm about to retweet. Over downtown. So looking through reports and replies that we're getting, certainly folks on the northern part of the county are seeing the gust front, although from that storm move into Nashville, getting a lot of photos of that. I'm also noticing lightning expanding wider and increasing in frequency. It was east of 65 where we would expect it to be, where we're seeing the most intense parts of the storm, but that lightning threat has expanded west, and looks like pretty much every part of the county will need to head inside at some point over the next 30 or 45 minutes because of the lightning danger.
Yeah, this thing's been a prolific lightning producer all the way up. Really from northern Kentucky, this thing has been really a beast. Produced some wind damage up there, and let's keep in mind these kinds of storms really are not unusual this time of year. We're getting into the summertime where we get what these are called MCSs, mesoscale convective systems, and these things will be going up in Kentucky and just drive down straight into Nashville from either the west or the north or northwest. And this is really sort of a typical summertime storm for us, and they are very, very efficient lightning producers. So, yeah, Will's exactly right. You want to be inside with this. And I saw a question just above in the chat here about, hey, do I need to be in a tornado-safe place, or really where do I need to go for a severe thunderstorm? And maybe you're new around here. We were just out west last week, and the weather was unusual for us because we weren't really used to what was going on out there. And so if you're new here, what is a severe thunderstorm? You want to be inside a sturdy structure. Pavilions are no good. But I wouldn't say, this isn't really a basement kind of a deal. This is be inside a sturdy structure, especially from the lightning threat, the wind threat. Don't be near trees that could come down on you, whether you're driving or just, maybe you need to move to another part of the house that doesn't have trees hanging over it, whatever. You decide for you, but we're looking at winds basically 50 to 60 miles per hour being possible here. And looks like the Weather Service is saying there could be some small hail in the eastern Montgomery County storm, and really the Cheatham County storm there as well. That's if you're looking at the radar there, that's right just to the west of Jolton. Could be some small hail there. And new radar scan coming in there, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's a little bit of small hail coming into Davidson County on the far west side and up around Jolton right now. So here's our severe thunderstorm warning polygon. Again, the way we sort of look at this is you're either in or you're out of it. So knowing where you are on the map. If you're in Jolton, you got a bad storm, you may have some hail coming down, you're not included in the severe thunderstorm warning. Belmead, downtown Nashville, the same thing, Pasco, Bellevue, and of course down into Williamson County as well. None of Williamson County included yet in a warning, and they may or may not be here in a little bit. We'll just have to see as the storm progresses down there whether they decide to extend it into Williamson County. But at the moment, no. But it looks like we all might get a little bit of rain out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just, Steve mentioned in the chat, looks like it'll miss Brentwood and Franklin again. I don't know about that, Steve. I mean, you might miss the severe part of this, but I think, it looks like most of us are going to get at least a little bit of rain out of this, especially the further north you are. So if you've been hoping for a little bit of rain, you might get it today. Good chance of it. So what we don't want to see is the strong, gusty, straight-line winds that will bring down a tree, cause damage.
Andrew, there's a little part to the storm coming into Jolton now. The Weather Service says might have some small hail in it.
Yeah.
You see that little notch-looking thing?
I do. So right here, there it is. So right around Marrowbone Lake is a small part of this storm coming into Jolton, Baxter Road, Marrowbone Lake. Could be a little bit of small hail in there. And let's read out some of these areas here. Ridge Hill Road, Grays Point Road. Let's see, that's going to be Little Marrowbone Road, right around Beeman Park. If you know anybody in Beeman Park today hiking around, hey, give them a holler, give them a call. I mean, they have just a couple of minutes. They're really not going to have much time to get back to the car. But if they're out there at Beeman Park, could be some hail, certainly some lightning. And I trust that hopefully with hearing the thunder come in, they've gotten out of there. But you don't want to be hiking around outside in Beeman Park for a couple of reasons there, because of hail and lightning coming into northwestern Davidson County. So looking at a different radar here off screen, and could be some hail in there. I see that. Let's go over and look at our. Yeah, so the colors here, this is going to be sort of your hail indicators. And I see what the Weather Service was talking about. They're talking about the Clarksville, the eastern Montgomery County storm over here. So they do have an area of hail potential there in eastern Montgomery County. We also have an area of some small hail separately over here in northwestern Davidson County, right there around Jolton. So there's your roads, Coopertown, Baxter, Ivy Point, Greer Road area up there around the Speedway. up there around the drag strip. Could have some hail up there as well, and certainly Marrowbone Lake and Beeman Park.
These storms are moving so slow, though, that we're going to get a little bit more rain than we normally would on a severe thunderstorm. Usually the storm is going pretty quickly, and so the rain is in and out. But this is producing a lot of rainfall upstream, and I mean, there's already a flash flood warning up, or a couple of flash flood warnings up where these storms came from. I'm not suggesting that'll happen here, but it's just a lot more rain. So if you have softball games tonight, you're probably in a little bit of trouble. Fields might be too wet, and then additionally, on that area you were just talking about there, Andrew, up near Jolton, the number of positive lightning strikes is surprising. And those are those strikes that are super loud. I mean, I count about a dozen of them right now. So you definitely want to be inside. Don't be one of those guys that hangs out outside, on a golf course and stays under those pavilions, because, if you get hit, then it's certainly going to feel severe to you. New product out, Andrew.
Yeah, it looks like it's a special weather statement, and that's going to be what just showed up here on the radar. I know it's hard to see. We don't make these things real bright, but they're in western Davidson County. Weather Service just issued a special weather statement for Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Montgomery, Robertson, and that's going to be for 40-mile-per-hour winds here, according to the radar product here. 40-mile-per-hour winds, maybe some small hail, pennies or smaller, dimes or smaller, really. Looks like from that statement. So not a warning there in the western part of Davidson County, but a special weather statement that just highlighting the possibility of some 40-mile-per-hour winds and small hail. So warning still going for another 15 minutes there in eastern Davidson County. And I'm going to go over to TB&A. Let's see. Yeah, TB&A still looks like a bunch of junk. Not much to read there. They're not doing the rapid scan there on TB&A yet. So scans are few and far between, but for what we have available there, it doesn't look too bad. But we can't draw a lot of conclusions from that radar image there, for obvious reasons. Will, how are reports looking? We get anything or just some pictures?
No, really not. Wind gusts in Madison, some cloud formation photos, people asking questions about, oh, wow, look at this cloud. There's a big gust front coming, huge shelf cloud as a result of that. It looks like it is coming down just south of like Old Hickory Boulevard by Davidson Academy and south from there. Trying to pull up a couple of our cameras, see if I can catch it on one of those. But really, no, I mean, nothing damage-wise, no big hail reports. Maybe as this storm moves into some areas of higher population, we'll start getting a little bit more.
Storm definitely doesn't look as impressive as it did on radar a little bit ago, a couple of hours ago up in Kentucky. This thing had a very clear Bose signature. It was out to fight and really had a lot of energy with it. It definitely looks less organized on radar now than it did. The winds are still a thing, still some residual energy with this that it's releasing in the form of strong winds, a lot of lightning. But it doesn't look as organized as it did. I want to go over and look at the satellite. I had the satellite pulled up a little bit ago. Still looks pretty organized on satellite, but not like it did. So it looks like cloud tops might be warming just a little. So still an organized system, but less so than it was up in Kentucky. Liz asks here in the chat, how fast is it moving? You think it'll hit Williamson? Yeah, I think it'll hit Williamson. I think, though, that it will be I think it'll be some wind, some rain, and a lot of lightning. Not at the moment expecting severe weather in Williamson. But that could change. We've got a lot of energy out there in the form of heat, humidity, a lot of moisture. in the air. So it has some ingredients to work with if it keeps running.
Yeah, David, you mentioned positive strikes earlier. They continue as this thing works its way south.
And we were talking about this thing moving over the Weather Service office just a few minutes ago, and the Weather Service reports here that the winds were not impressive. Quote: "Winds were not impressive when the worst of it came over our office a few minutes ago." Now, they're of course just one location. They are located right here where it says KOHX. That's the radar site. So they're smack dab in the middle of this radar or this warning polygon, and they were in the line of the strong velocity signature on radar, and they say the winds were, quote, not impressive. So now sometimes it takes a lot to impress us weather folks. We've seen a lot of videos and experienced a lot of weather, but what I would suspect is that the winds were gusty, but may not have reached severe criteria. Or did not reach severe
Yeah, and
criteria there.
that's validated by the reports.
Yeah.
Really, everything I see on here is gusty winds, no damage.
Yeah.
Although I'm not really sure your umbrella will survive
Yeah.
this.
No,
Get up
probably
underneath
not.
it. It's not a little sprinkle. So if you're downtown, I hope you're finished your lunch, because you're not going to want to be caught walking back. I know the draft is going on down there. So if you're already there or you're watching, just hang tight. I'd stay in the arena. Okay. Yeah. So this looks like a wind, rain, and lightning event to me too.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Weather Service decides to cancel this thing early. It's got 10 minutes left on it. They may just let it ride out. I am interested in the possibility of hail up in Joelton. Still getting some indications up there that there could be some hail. Really, the strongest hail indicator we have on radar is going to be up around Joelton within Davidson County. So the Weather Service did, by the way, just let that go. The warning. They canceled the warning. So no severe thunderstorm warning in effect now. But we do have that hail indicator up there in northwestern Davidson County that, I'm not expecting large hail to reach the ground, but could have some small hail up there.
Also, it's kind of hard to discern with HPX being blasted and getting close to the site. Like, I mean, it makes some sense with all of the cloud to guard lightning it's still producing, especially positive strikes, but it'd probably be pretty small.
Yeah, so this is up here around Joelton. So radar, take this with a very big grain of salt. Thinking we could have some over 1 inch hail up there, but that's radar indicated way up in the atmosphere. That's the estimated hail size. 1 minute, David. I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like that area, Joelton, is probably the spot for a little bit of hail over by Dry Creek, Union Hill Road. And it's moving really kind of hard to tell exactly where that area is going because the radar is kind of blowing out. But it looks like from Baker's all the way down to Fontenelle. So if you go from Baker's south to Ivy Point, down to Dry Creek, Union Hill Road, across 24 to Fontenelle, that area is trying to lean over towards Skyline, Chesapeake, over towards Rivergate, in that rural area. But before it hits the interstate, definitely going to see rain and lightning there. The question is, will you get a little bit of small hail in there? And just looking at the radar data, I mean, like Andrew was saying before, there might be a few really tiny pellets in there, but nothing I think that would cause any property damage. So, yeah.
one of our ladies from our office. I'm broadcasting from the office today, and she came by just to see if I was on YouTube Live. So I said, "Yeah, come on, join us." So we have a big crowd from our office eating lunch in a conference room just a couple of doors down. So they're all wondering. They're looking outside, seeing the dark weather, wanting to know if we're on. Here we are.
Well, with the warning being canceled, I mean,
Yep.
we don't necessarily need to stay on much longer. We can kind of handle this from Twitter. I'm with you, Andrew. I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to need to warn this, but I don't see. Usually, you need some wind to come along here to cause an issue, and I don't see any on OHX. And then, of course, TBNA is not much help. But we got another report here of gusty winds over in Glencliff, but they're probably not severe. They're probably not going to be able to warn these for severe unless they get above 50. And I mean, there's still a few pixels on TBNA running close to 50. So if you go over by East Nashville, over by Hermitage, over by BNA, there's a couple of 50-mile-an-hour winds on TBNA. So there might be some close to severe winds in here. So it's tough to tell what they're going to do, but either way, I don't think it matters much. You probably should just head inside. So, okay.
Yeah, David, I think we can jump off of here. We'll cover it over
Yeah, I
on
think
Twitter.
that's the move.
I think it is.
We don't need to talk much more about this. We can handle it on Twitter. So,
yeah. Well, sounds good. All right, if you need to send reports, hashtag TSpotter on Twitter, and otherwise we'll be tweeting about this. If we need to come back on, we will. But right now, it appears that things have come down below severe limits. So, all right, you guys have a great rest of the day, and stay plugged in. This weather's coming for Williamson County soon, so stay plugged in. Listen to the sky. If you've got thunder, you need to head inside. Don't be messing around with this lightning. It's pretty frequent. All right, have a good one. See you later.